If you're from the South, you've probably had beef tips and rice. If you haven't, you need to make this recipe. So easy, so delicious, so comforting. Homemade yeast rolls. Welcome to Dinner at the Bakehouse. I'm Michael. Let's go. So these will be the vegetables that we're going to be using: a whole yellow onion, a whole green bell pepper, 1 seeded jalapeno, 1 small carton of white mushrooms, and 4 cloves of minced garlic. Now for our meat, we're going to be using about 2 pounds-ish of roast. This is chuck roast. I found this on sale, so this whole portion of meat was probably less than $15. So it's a very economical find right now with the price of meat. And what we want to do with this is we want to cut it up into uniform-ish pieces, and we want to get as much of the fat and silver skin off as we can. So anything that's not going to cook down. We'll get more of that when we get in there. Just cut this into strips. About 1.5 inches squared is really what we need. Get this separated here. Now this is the chuck roast. It's going to be a little bit more fat content. I'll get it trimmed up just a bit. Take some of this off. Yeah, we're just going to cut around this fat that's in there. And I mean, you could use it if you wanted. It's just if it doesn't cook down, it might not be appetizing. Okay, there we have our cubed meat. It's again about 2 pounds, and we want to make sure that we season this generously with salt, pepper, and garlic. And then we're going to add some all-purpose flour to it, because when we brown it, we're going to use that as the base for the sauce of the dish. So we just get this all mixed up. Then I have about 1/8 of a cup of flour that I'm just going to coat it with. And again, we're going to cook this in some olive oil in a hot skillet, brown it, and then we'll do our vegetables, deglaze with some wine, and ready to go. Okay, we can set this aside and go to the next step. Okay, it's time to brown the meat, and we want this to be really uniform. I mean, it doesn't have to be cooked all the way through, but we want it to get started. We're going to add some olive oil and about 2 tablespoons of butter. Pardon the sound here. Now we're just going to brown this, trying to get as much of it covered as we can. And remember, we put the flour on it, so that's going to help us later as we create our sauce from this. And we'll be using some cornstarch as well to get this to thicken. You didn't have to if you don't want to, but it sure goes better with rice if it is. If you notice, I've gone to a spatula instead of that metal utensil that I was using earlier in earlier videos. I noticed it was just very grating the sound, so I'm going to try to make do with this to save your ears. You can thank me later. Smells great. Goodness. I'm hungry. Okay. Let this go a little bit longer. We'll go ahead and turn it up. Basically what we're going to be doing is braising this meat. Okay. Get this off. Now you can see what that flour has done to the bottom of the pan, which is great. That's what we want, because we're going to come back with a little bit more olive oil, our onions, our bell pepper, and our jalapeños. And again, we're going to wait for the mushrooms until we get a little further along. We're going to start cooking these down. And when they start to soften, and we're not going to cook them all the way down, but when they start to soften, what we want to do is deglaze with some red wine. Just hoping this is going to be big enough in my skillet here. This is one of those meals that you can have middle of the week, and it just satisfies checks every box, I guess you could say, for a meal. You could do this in a crock pot as well, which, you know, really make it easy. Throw everything in there, turn it on, come back later in the day and we'll be ready to go. Just make some rice or mashed potatoes. Now we're going to go in with our red wine to deglaze the pan. I don't think it did. We're going to cook this down. We can go ahead and add our meat back in. And again, we seasoned the meat so we don't have to worry so much about what's going to come out of the flavor, because we'll taste it, add more salt and pepper. I guess I should go ahead and add the garlic. Rookie move. I was all up in the pudding and forgot that. It'll be fine. We'll get it there. We're going to cook this down. It is hard. It is hard to keep up with everything when you're trying to do it in a certain order. Hey, do this. Next time you cook dinner, record yourself. It's amazing. We can add our mushrooms now. What's going on? I now have 32 ounces of beef broth that I'm going to add. And we're going to cook this. We're going to cook this all afternoon. You see, it's has a lot of liquid to it, but we're going to cook it down. It's almost 2 o'clock now, and we won't eat until 5:30. So we're going to let this cook. I'm going to move it over to the stovetop and just let it go. I'm going to bring it up to a pretty vigorous boil. Get everything hot, then I'll turn it down to a simmer and I'll cover it. I will taste it here in a few minutes and add additional salt or pepper if needed. Okay, now, in my opinion, anything that has gravy, you have to have some sort of bread with it. So I'm going to make a real quick yeast roll that is a go-to for me. I'll do a whole video on that at some point, so I'm just going to hit the very high spots on it, but it's delicious and it goes great with this meal. So we'll get this on the stovetop, and then we'll come back and get our bread together, and then we'll be ready to go on to the next step. So we just have some warm water, and I have some of my sugar that I'm going to use here, and some instant yeast, and we're going to let this start. I have all-purpose flour, salt, sugar, and these rolls are, they're crazy good. I can't even, man, you'd have to experience it. You need to make them. I'm just saying, they are really good. We've activated our yeast. We can go ahead and add that, water, a little bit of sugar. And we just want to give this a mix. And we're going to add softened butter, and softened shortening. When we get this done, we'll cover it and we'll put it on the cabinet over there where it's warm. And they'll rise for about 2 hours. And again, this is going to be a real wet dough. You can see the dough is kind of coming together. Now we're going to take 1 egg. This happens to be from my mom's chickens. Not grass raised, but pretty close. Perfect. You can see it there. It's just a real shaggy dough. Have this covered up, and one thing I like to do is write what time I covered them and how long I'm going to do it. So 4:45. We should be good. You can see that our beef tips have kind of started to incorporate now. The mushrooms are cooking down, the vegetables are getting really soft. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce and about 1.5 tablespoons of soy sauce. You want to make sure you get that in before you salt. That's really just more for the flavor and the umami that it's going to create. Let's give it a taste. Go in at about 2 pinches of pepper, 2 healthy pinches of salt, and we'll taste again. I love this meal. Good. Waiting for the rolls to rise. We'll thicken this up when we get a little bit closer to serving. We'll make our rice and come back and join us. Let's thicken up our gravy because we want that to be a little bit thicker than what it is currently. This has been on the stove top now for hour or two, and we're going to give this a chance to going to give it a chance for the cornstarch to cook a bit before. And you could actually do this with you could just do it with water if you wanted. I don't want to add something that's not seasoned into this at this point. We're going to just add a little bit of cornstarch, and we're going to whisk it up. Want to get all the lumps out of it. You don't want to just dump it in there, because if those lumps form, you can't correct that. Now we can just get this in. Give it a quick mix. And this will thicken significantly with the cornstarch added. You could also use flour if you wanted. I just like cornstarch because it's a little bit quicker and you don't have to be quite as diligent with the amounts. Okay, we'll put this back on the stovetop and let it go for another hour and a half before we have to serve. We'll get our our rolls ready, and we'll be good to go. Let's get our rolls rolled out and into our baking sheet here. I'm just going to use a little bit of shortening to grease my pan. So just a light grease there, greasing. We're going to put this back. Now you can see our dough has doubled in size. Our strainer real quick. Again, this is going to be sticky, and it's supposed to be. Don't worry about that. We're gonna just cover it real good with some flour. Now we can start rolling it out to just a thin sheet. If it's sticky, just put some more flour on it. We have our dough rolled out into about 1/2 inch sheet, and we're just going to go through and start cutting this into these 2-inch circles. Okay, so you see we have just the roll, just a piece of dough. We're going to dip half of it in butter, and then we're going to place them in no specific order into our baking dish. And they'll be delicious. Dare I say, perfect food. We have our rolls buttered and in the tray. We'll wrap them up one more time and then let them rise for our second proof. We're getting there. Okay, our rolls have gone through the second rise. You can see they're doubled in size again. We're going to put them in a 375-degree oven for about 15-20 minutes. I will take them out halfway through to put some butter on them, and then after I get through, I will butter them again and put some kosher salt on them. Man, I wish you could smell these. Oh, lordy, lordy. Okay, we'll put some butter on them, because what's not better with a little more butter? The secret to Southern cooking. They're done. Let's get them out. Look at those bad Larrys. Let's check our temp on these. 207. Really done. Okay, we're gonna give them one more bit of butter, and then we'll salt them. And by the way, this is not all. This is not all just for 2 of us. We're having dinner at the big house tonight with my family, so there'll be 6 of us there. And I think that they will probably eat all of these before it's all said and done. I mean, why wouldn't you? Perfect. So we have our beef tips. You can see that we've thickened it up with some cornstarch. We got our mushrooms and our vegetables. Oh, boys, that is gonna be good. Look at that. If that's not comfort, I don't know what is. Wowzers. Okay, let's grab a roll. Whew, them bad Larrys are hot as well. A little bit more sauce for me. Let's give her a try and see what she came out like. You just can't go wrong with it. I'm telling you, it is just, it's perfect. And look at that. If that doesn't put love in your heart, oof, I don't know. That's just too good for words. I'm sorry. Oh, it's hot though. Thank you so much. What a great meal. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're so inclined. We'll keep cooking if you'll keep coming back. Thank you.